The pen was inches from the paper. $900 million. One signature away, James Caldwell's hand trembled. Not from fear, but from excitement. At 42 years old, he'd built his tech empire from nothing, and this deal would cement his legacy forever. The merger with Dubois International would expand his company into 17 countries overnight. "Mr. Caldwell," his attorney whispered, leaning close. "Perhaps we should review the documents one more time. We've reviewed them for 3 months, Richard." James cut him off, gripping the Mont Blanc pen tighter. "I'm not letting this opportunity slip away." Across the mahogany table in the private dining room of Le Ciel Bleu, Manhattan's most exclusive French restaurant, sat Laurent Dubois. 60 years old, silver hair perfectly combed, wearing a suit that probably cost more than most people's cars. His smile was warm, trustworthy, paternal even. "Monsieur Caldwell," Laurent said in his thick French accent, "I assure you this partnership will change both our futures. My family's company has waited decades for the right American partner." James nodded, ready to sign. His entire legal team had vetted everything. The due diligence was flawless. Dubois International's credentials were impeccable. Offices in Paris, Geneva, Monaco. Annual revenues exceeding $2 billion. This was it. The pen touched the paper. "Excuse me, gentlemen." Everyone turned. A waitress stood at the entrance to the private room, holding a wine bottle. She had dark hair pulled back in a neat ponytail, maybe 30 years old, wearing the standard black vest and white shirt of the restaurant staff. "We didn't order more wine," Laurent said sharply, his charm evaporating for just a second. "I apologize, sir," the waitress replied, her voice steady. "But I believe you did. The sommelier sent me with your selection." She walked forward, and James noticed something odd. Her hands weren't shaking. Most waitresses seemed nervous entering a room where a billion-dollar deal was happening. But not her. She placed the bottle on the table, then leaned toward Laurent, speaking in rapid French. "Monsieur Dubois, le directeur aimerait vous parler de la réservation pour ce soir." James didn't understand. He'd never learned French, despite his mother's insistence during his childhood. But he understood Laurent's reaction perfectly. The older man's face went white. Actually white, like he'd seen a ghost. His eyes widened, and for the first time since they'd met 3 months ago, Laurent Dubois looked genuinely afraid. "Je ne comprends pas," Laurent stammered. "I don't know what you mean." The waitress, her name tag read Anna, didn't move. She stood there staring at Laurent with an intensity that made James uncomfortable. "What's going on?" James asked, looking between them. Anna turned to him and her expression was urgent. "Mr. Caldwell, don't sign that contract." "Excuse me?" James blinked, confused. "Who are you two? This contract is fake," Anna said, her voice clear and firm. She pointed at Laurent. "And so is he," the room erupted. Laurent shot to his feet, knocking his chair backward. James's attorney grabbed the contract protectively. The 2 other executives from James's team started talking over each other. "This is outrageous," Laurent shouted. "Security! Remove this woman immediately." But Anna didn't move. She locked eyes with James. "Mr. Caldwell, I speak French. I'm fluent. I understood every word he said on the phone 10 minutes ago in the bar." Her voice cut through the chaos. "He's not Laurent Dubois. The real Laurent Dubois died 6 months ago in Paris. This man is François Mercier, a known con artist wanted by Interpol. And that contract you're about to sign, it's not a merger agreement. It's a complete transfer of your assets to an offshore shell corporation." James felt his blood run cold. "She's insane." The man claiming to be Laurent grabbed his briefcase. "I'm calling my lawyers. This is defamation, slander. Then why are you running?" Anna asked simply, and he was running. The fake Laurent was backing toward the door, his composure completely shattered. "Stop him," James shouted. Everything happened fast after that, too fast. James's security detail, 2 former Secret Service agents who'd been waiting outside the private dining room, burst through the door as the fake Laurent tried to escape. They grabbed him by both arms, slamming him against the wall hard enough to rattle the expensive artwork hanging there. "Let me go. This is assault." The con artist struggled, but he was 60 years old and going up against trained professionals half his age. It was over in seconds. James stood frozen, his pen still in his hand, staring at the contract that had almost destroyed everything he'd built. $900 million. His entire company, his employees' jobs, his life's work, almost gone. "Mr. Caldwell?" Anna's voice broke through his shock. "Are you all right?" He turned to her slowly. This waitress, this random woman who'd interrupted his meeting, had just saved him from financial ruin. Who are you?" Anna glanced at the struggling con artist, then back at James. "My name is Anna Reeves. I'm a waitress here, yes, but I'm also a graduate student at Columbia. International law and languages. I speak 6 of them, including French. But how did you know?" "I was serving drinks at the bar when he took a phone call," Anna explained quickly. "He thought nobody could understand him, so he got careless. He was talking to his accomplice in Paris, celebrating that the stupid American was about to sign everything away. He mentioned specific details, how they'd forged documents, created fake company records, even paid people to pose as employees during your site visits to what you thought was the Paris headquarters." James's attorney, Richard, had gone pale. "The site visits? We went to Paris twice. We met dozens of employees. You saw what they wanted you to see," Anna interrupted. "It's called a Potemkin village. They rented an office building, hired actors, created an elaborate set, everything designed to pass a surface-level inspection. But the financial records," Richard protested weakly. "The bank statements, the revenue reports, all forgeries." Anna pulled out her phone. "When I heard him on the phone, I immediately started researching. The real Laurent Dubois died in a car accident in March. It was in the French newspapers. His company was dissolved, assets distributed to his heirs. There is no Dubois International anymore. There hasn't been for 6 months." She showed them her phone screen. Sure enough, there were French news articles about Laurent Dubois' death. The photos showed a man who looked similar to the con artist they'd just caught, similar enough that with good makeup and confidence, someone could pull off the impersonation. "Mon Dieu," the fake Laurent, François, Anna had called him, muttered from where the security guards held him. He'd stopped struggling, his shoulders slumped in defeat. James finally found his voice. "You researched all this in 10 minutes?" 15, actually, Anna corrected. "I spent 5 minutes deciding whether to intervene. This isn't exactly in my job description, and I thought maybe I'd misunderstood. But then I found the obituary and I knew I had to say something." "Why French?" James asked suddenly. Of all the languages, why was he speaking French? "Arrogance," Anna said simply. He assumed that in an expensive Manhattan restaurant full of wealthy Americans, nobody would understand him. "It's a common mistake. People think French is exotic, sophisticated, rare, but there are millions of French speakers in the world, and plenty of us right here in New York." Richard had pulled out his own phone, frantically making calls. "I'm getting our litigation team on this immediately. We need to contact the FBI, Interpol, the SEC. Already done," one of the security guards said. He was on his phone too. "NYPD is 2 minutes out. FBI field office is sending agents." James walked slowly to the table and picked up the contract. His hands were shaking now, but not from excitement. From rage and relief, and disbelief. He'd read every page of this document. His entire legal team had reviewed it for months. How had they missed it? "May I?" Anna gestured to the contract. James handed it to her, and she flipped through the pages quickly, her eyes scanning the dense legal text with practiced ease. "Here," she pointed to a section near the end. "This clause. It looks like standard merger language, but it's not. This phrase in Latin, cessio bonorum. It means complete transfer of assets. Not a merger, a transfer. And this section about international corporate restructuring protocols? It's meaningless jargon designed to sound official while actually giving them total control of your accounts." Richard grabbed the contract from her hands, reading frantically. His face went from pale to green. "Oh my God, she's right. How did we miss this?" "Because you were looking for a merger," Anna said gently. "You saw what you expected to see. It's called confirmation bias. They knew you'd be excited about the deal, so they buried the real terms in language that seemed routine." The NYPD arrived first. 4 officers in uniform, hands on their weapons, eyes scanning the room with trained precision. They took control of Francois immediately, handcuffing him while reading his rights in English. He said nothing, just stared at the floor, defeated. Then the FBI agents walked in, 2 of them. A woman in her late 40s with sharp eyes and a man who looked like he could bench press a car. They flashed their badges and immediately began securing the scene. "I'm Special Agent Jennifer Morrison," the woman said, looking directly at James. "Mr. Caldwell, I need you to step back from that contract. It's evidence now." James dropped it on the table like it had burned him. Agent Morrison picked it up carefully, sliding it into a clear evidence bag. "We've been tracking Francois Mercier for 18 months. He's wanted in 7 countries. France, Switzerland, Belgium, Monaco, Luxembourg, Germany, and now the United States. 18 months. Richard's voice cracked. "And you didn't warn anyone?" "We didn't know he was targeting you specifically," Morrison replied. "Mercier operates by finding wealthy businessmen who are ambitious, successful, but maybe a little too eager for the next big opportunity. He studies them for months, learns everything about them, then creates elaborate scenarios that exploit their exact weaknesses." James felt sick. "My weakness?" "Legacy," Anna said softly. Everyone turned to look at her. She continued, "You built your company from nothing, Mr. Caldwell. You're proud of that. But you want more. You want to be remembered as someone who changed the world, not just someone who made money. A 17-country expansion? That's not just business. That's legacy." Morrison nodded. "She's right. Mercier researched you thoroughly, Mr. Caldwell. He knew about your speeches on global technology access. He knew about your interest in European markets. He created Laurent Dubois specifically for you. A fictional French businessman with old money, established connections. Everything you'd need to achieve your vision. How much of it was real?" James asked. "The offices in Paris, the employees, Almost none of it," Morrison interrupted. "The Paris office was rented for 2 weeks during your visits. The employees were hired actors from a local agency. The Geneva and Monaco offices don't exist at all. They were just addresses and phone numbers that redirected to his accomplices. Even the financial statements were created by a team of forgers who specialize in corporate fraud. The male FBI agent, who'd been quiet until now, spoke up. Mr. Caldwell, you would have signed that contract, transferred the initial payment of $900 million to what you thought was an escrow account. And within 48 hours, that money would have been split into 200 smaller transfers across 70 different countries. We would never have recovered it." James's legs felt weak. He grabbed the back of a chair for support. $900 million, he whispered. "Gone, just gone." "Not just the money," Morrison added grimly. "The contract also included clauses that would have given them access to your company's intellectual property, client databases, and proprietary technology. By the time you realized what happened, they could have sold everything to your competitors. Your company wouldn't just lose money, it would lose everything that makes it valuable." Richard made a sound like he might vomit. "But it didn't happen," Anna said firmly. She was still standing there, still in her waitress uniform, looking completely calm while everyone else was falling apart. "You're safe, Mr. Caldwell. Your company is safe. Your employees are safe." James looked at her, really looked at her. This 30-year-old waitress with dark hair and steady hands who'd saved everything he'd worked for. "Why?" he asked. "Why did you help me? You could have just ignored it. Finished your shift, gone home. This isn't your problem." Anna was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "My father worked for a company that got destroyed by fraud when I was 12. The CEO signed bad contracts with people he thought he could trust. The company went bankrupt. 700 people lost their jobs, including my dad. We lost our house. I watched my parents struggle for years to recover." She looked at Francois, still handcuffed and silent. "I couldn't let it happen to someone else," she continued. "Not when I had the power to stop it." 3 hours later, the restaurant was mostly empty. Francois had been taken away in handcuffs to federal custody. The evidence had been collected, photographed, documented. Agent Morrison had taken statements from everyone present. James sat at the mahogany table, the same table where he'd almost signed away everything. Richard had finally stopped making panicked phone calls and was slumped in a chair, exhausted. The two other executives from James's team had left an hour ago. Still in shock, Anna was still there, sitting quietly in the corner, waiting to give her final statement to the FBI. Ms. Reeves, Agent Morrison approached her. I meant what I said earlier. The FBI could genuinely use someone with your skills. We have an entire division dedicated to international fraud. With your language abilities and your instincts, you'd be an incredible asset. I appreciate that, Anna replied. But I'm planning to teach after I finish my doctorate. Education is how we prevent these crimes, not just prosecute them. Admirable, Morrison said, handing her a business card. But if you change your mind, call me. The offer stands. After Morrison left, James walked over to Anna. She looked up at him, those steady brown eyes meeting his. Anna, he said, I need to ask you something. Okay, what you did tonight. That took courage. Most people would have stayed silent, minded their own business. I gotten involved. He paused. But you risked your job, potentially your safety, to warn a complete stranger about a fraud you had no obligation to expose. It was the right thing to do, Anna said simply. Let me hire you, James said suddenly. She blinked, surprised. As what? Consultant, advisor, fraud prevention specialist? I don't care about the title. He pulled out a chair and sat across from her. Look, what happened tonight proves something to me. My company has grown so fast, gotten so big, that I've surrounded myself with yes men and people who tell me what I want to hear. I need someone who will challenge me. Someone who sees things I miss. Someone who isn't afraid to speak up when something's wrong. Anna studied him carefully. Mr. Caldwell, you're in shock. You're grateful. That's natural. But you don't need to. I'm not offering because I'm grateful, James interrupted. I'm offering because you're brilliant. You speak 6 languages. You're an expert in international fraud law. You recognized a con artist that 7 countries' law enforcement agencies have been chasing for 18 months. And you had the courage to act on what you knew, even when it meant confronting someone dangerous in front of a room full of powerful people. He leaned forward. Anna, I build technology. I create products. But I clearly don't understand people the way you do. I don't see the red flags you see. I need that perspective in my company. Not just for fraud prevention, but for everything. International negotiations, partnership agreements, employee relations, corporate culture. Anna was quiet, considering. What about my doctorate? Finish it, James said immediately. We'll work around your class schedule. Hell, I'll fund your research if it helps. But I want you on my team, Anna. Name your salary. Whatever you want. Mr. Caldwell. James, he corrected. Please. After tonight, I think we're past formalities. Anna smiled slightly. James, I appreciate the offer. I really do. But I need to think about it. This is a big decision. And you're right, we're both running on adrenaline right now. Can I have some time? Of course, James said, pulling out his own business card. Take all the time you need. But please consider it seriously. What you did tonight. You didn't just save my company. You saved 3,200 jobs. 3,200 families who would have suffered if I'd signed that contract. Anna took the card, looking at it thoughtfully. Your father, she said suddenly. The company that went bankrupt. Did he ever recover? He did, Anna replied. It took 7 years, but he rebuilt. Started his own small business. It's nothing like what he had before, but he's proud of it. And he taught me something important through all of that. What's that? That the people with the most power have the greatest responsibility to do the right thing. You have power, James, resources, influence, reach. What you do with that matters, not just for your shareholders or your bottom line, but for all the people whose lives your decisions touch. James felt something shift inside him. This wasn't just about hiring someone smart. This was about surrounding himself with people who would hold him accountable. People who would remind him why he built his company in the first place. Will you at least think about it? He asked. Anna stood up, smoothing her waitress uniform. I will. Promise. As she walked toward the door, James called out, Anna? She turned back. Thank you. For everything, she smiled. You're welcome, James. Try to get some sleep tonight. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. The next morning, James's phone wouldn't stop ringing. He sat in his Manhattan penthouse, watching the sunrise over the city, while his publicist, his board of directors, and half a dozen news outlets tried to reach him. The story had leaked. Tech billionaire nearly falls for $900 million fraud was trending on every major news platform. Richard had advised him to say nothing. Let the FBI handle the press. But James knew he had to control the narrative before it controlled him. At 9 a.m., he held a press conference. Yesterday, my company nearly became the victim of an elaborate international fraud scheme, James said, standing behind a podium in his corporate headquarters. Camera flashes exploded like lightning. A con artist posing as a French businessman almost convinced me to sign away $900 million and access to proprietary technology that took years to develop. The reporters erupted with questions. James held up his hand. I'm here today because I want to be transparent about what happened and what it taught me. First, the fraud was stopped because of the courage and intelligence of a single person who saw something wrong and refused to stay silent. That person saved not just my company, but the livelihoods of 3,200 employees and their families. More camera flashes, more shouted questions. Second, I want other business leaders to learn from my mistake. I was so eager for expansion, so focused on legacy, that I missed warning signs my team should have caught. Ambition without caution is dangerous. Trust without verification is foolish. I almost paid the ultimate price for both. After the press conference, James returned to his office. His assistant informed him that 6 other CEOs had called, asking for details about François Mercier's tactics. Apparently, James wasn't the only one who'd been targeted. 3 other companies had been approached by Laurent Dubois over the past year, but they'd declined the deals for various reasons. James felt sick thinking about it. If any of them had signed, his phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Saw your press conference. You did good. Anna. James smiled for the first time in 24 hours. He texted back, have you thought about my offer? 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then appeared again, still thinking. Can we meet? I have questions. Name the time and place. Tomorrow. 2 p.m. Central Park near Bethesda Fountain. Somewhere neutral. James agreed immediately. The next day, he arrived 15 minutes early. Anna was already there, sitting on a bench, wearing jeans and a Columbia sweatshirt instead of her waitress uniform. She looked different, younger, less formal, but those steady brown eyes were the same. You're early, she said as he approached. So are you, James replied, sitting down beside her. They sat in silence for a moment, watching people walk by. Joggers, tourists, families with children. Normal life, continuing as if the world hadn't almost collapsed 2 days ago. I did some research on you, Anna said finally. Deep research. Your company history, your leadership style, employee satisfaction ratings, turnover rates, legal disputes, everything. And? James asked, almost afraid of the answer. You're not perfect, Anna said. You've made mistakes. Pushed too hard sometimes. Prioritized growth over stability in some quarters. But overall, you treat your people well. You pay fair wages. You promote from within. Your employees actually like working for you. She turned to look at him. That matters to me. I won't work for someone who treats people as disposable. So you're considering it? James felt hope rising in his chest. I have conditions, Anna said. If I accept this position, I need autonomy. I need the authority to investigate anything that seems wrong, question any decision, and report directly to you without going through layers of management. I need to be able to say no to you publicly if necessary without fear of being fired. Done, James said immediately. I'm not finished, Anna continued. I also want a clause in my contract that protects whistleblowers throughout your company. If someone sees fraud, abuse, or unethical behavior and reports it, they get immunity from retaliation. Full protection. James considered this. It was a bold request, the kind of thing that could make management uncomfortable. I'll have legal draft it today, he said. Anna studied his face. You mean that? I do. Anna, what happened 2 nights ago taught me something crucial. The biggest threats to my company won't come from competitors or market forces. They'll come from blind spots. Things I can't see because I'm too close, too invested, or too surrounded by people afraid to contradict me. You're not afraid to contradict me. That's exactly what I need. Okay, Anna said quietly. Okay, I'll take the job. On those conditions. 3 months later, Anna sat in the executive conference room of Caldwell Technologies, presenting her findings to the board of directors. "We have a problem in our London office," she said, pulling up a spreadsheet on the large screen. "For the past 18 months, expense reports have been consistently inflated. Small amounts, nothing that triggers automatic audits, but it adds up to approximately $200,000 in fraudulent claims." The board members shifted uncomfortably. James, sitting at the head of the table, leaned forward. "Who?" Daniel Morrison, the regional director, Anna said. "He's been submitting receipts for business dinners that never happened, flights he didn't take, hotels he didn't stay at. Classic expense fraud. Daniel's been with us for 8 years, one board member protested. He's a top performer." "Are you certain?" Anna pulled up another document. "I verified every claim personally, cross-referenced with actual restaurant records, airline manifests, and hotel booking systems. The fraud is systematic and deliberate." The room fell silent. "What do you recommend?" James asked. "Immediate termination, criminal prosecution, and a full audit of all regional directors' expense reports for the past 3 years, Anna said without hesitation. "If he's doing it, others might be too." Another board member spoke up. "That seems harsh. Maybe we could just ask him to repay it? Quietly? Daniel brings in millions in revenue. Losing him could hurt our European operations." Anna turned to face him. "Sir, with respect, that's exactly the kind of thinking that enables fraud. If we let this go, we're telling every employee that stealing is acceptable as long as you're profitable. That's not a precedent we want to set." James nodded. "Anna's right. We deal with this properly. Legal action, full audit, zero tolerance." He looked around the table. "Anyone disagree?" No one spoke. After the meeting, James walked with Anna back to her office. It was small but well-positioned, right next to his own, with a clear view of the executive floor. "You made some people uncomfortable in there," James said. "Good," Anna replied. "Comfortable people don't change." James laughed. "You know, when I hired you, I thought you'd focus on external threats. Fraud from outside the company, but you've caught more problems inside our own walls. External fraud succeeds because of internal weaknesses," Anna explained. "François Mercier almost destroyed you, because your team was afraid to question your enthusiasm. Daniel Morrison stole for 18 months because no one was checking. The biggest threats always come from the blind spots we refuse to examine." She pulled out a folder from her desk. "Which brings me to something else. I need to talk to you about the Parker merger." James frowned. "What about it?" "We're closing next month. Everything's on track." "I'm not so sure," Anna said, opening the folder. "I've been reviewing Parker Industries' financials, and something doesn't add up. Their reported growth over the past 2 years is impressive. Too impressive. Companies in that sector typically grow at 15 to 20% annually. They're claiming 40%. They explained that," James said. "New product line, expanded market share." "I know what they claimed," Anna interrupted. "But I dug deeper. Talked to industry analysts, competitors, suppliers. No one can confirm these growth numbers. Their biggest competitor says Parker's market share has actually decreased." James felt a familiar chill. "You think they're lying about their numbers?" "I think we need independent verification before we close this deal," Anna said carefully. "I could be wrong. Maybe they have proprietary data that explains the discrepancy, but after what happened with François, I'm not taking anything at face value anymore." James sat down heavily. "The Parker deal is worth $300 million. We've been negotiating for a year. If we delay now, they might walk." "Better they walk than we buy a company built on fabricated numbers," Anna said. "James, this is why you hired me. To catch things before they become disasters." He looked at her, this 30-year-old woman who'd gone from serving wine to sitting in executive meetings in less than 3 months. She'd already saved his company twice, once from external fraud, and now potentially from internal corruption. "How long do you need?" he asked. 2 weeks for a thorough investigation," Anna said. "I'll hire an independent forensic accounting firm. If Parker's numbers are legitimate, we'll know. If they're not, then we walk away," James finished. "Do it, and Anna?" "Yes, thank you." Again, she smiled. "Just doing my job. Though I have to say, this job is a lot more interesting than serving French wine." "I imagine it is," James said. "Though I bet the tips were better." Anna laughed. Actually, you'd be surprised. Rich people are terrible tippers. 2 weeks later, Anna walked into James's office with a grim expression. She carried a thick report and her laptop. "It's bad," she said without preamble. "Parker Industries is a house of cards." James closed his laptop and gave her his full attention. "How bad?" Anna opened her report. The forensic accountants found systematic fraud dating back 4 years. Fake invoices, phantom customers, inflated revenue reports. Their actual annual revenue is about 60% of what they claimed, and their debt is triple what they disclosed. "Jesus," James muttered. "If we'd closed that deal, you would have acquired a company on the verge of bankruptcy," Anna finished. "Within 6 months, you would have discovered the real numbers. By then, you'd be legally responsible for their debt. We're talking hundreds of millions in liabilities you didn't know existed." James stood up and walked to the window, looking out over Manhattan. "Have you told anyone else?" "Just you. For now. We need to inform the SEC," James said. "This is securities fraud. Other companies might be in negotiations with Parker too." "Already drafted the report," Anna said, pulling it up on her laptop. "I can file it today." "But James, there's more." He turned back to her. "More? Robert Parker, their CEO, has been moving money offshore. The forensic team found wire transfers to accounts in the Cayman Islands, Switzerland, and Singapore. He knows the company is failing. He's been extracting cash before it collapses. He's running," James said. "Not yet, but soon," Anna confirmed. "If we're going to stop this, we need to move fast. File with the SEC, alert the FBI, freeze his assets before he disappears." James grabbed his phone. "Get legal in here. And Richard. We're doing this right now." Within an hour, they had a conference call with the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. Agent Morrison, the same agent who'd handled the François Mercier case, was on the line. "Ms. Reeves," Morrison's voice came through the speaker. "You're making a habit of catching criminals." "Someone has to," Anna replied. "We've been looking at Parker Industries for 6 months," Morrison said. "But we couldn't get enough evidence for a warrant. What you've provided changes everything. We can move on this today." "What about Parker himself?" James asked. "Can you stop him from running?" "We'll have agents at his home and office within the hour," Morrison said. "If he tries to flee, we'll know." "Good work, both of you. This could have hurt a lot more than just Caldwell Technologies." After the call ended, James looked at Anna with something close to awe. "How did you know? What made you suspicious?" "Honestly? Experience," Anna said. "After watching my father lose everything to fraud, I studied it obsessively. Got my master's in forensic accounting before switching to law. I learned to recognize patterns. Parker's numbers had the same patterns as dozens of other fraud cases. Growth too consistent, margins too perfect, debt too low. Real businesses are messy. Fraudulent ones are suspiciously clean. 2 major frauds in 3 months, James said. Both caught before they destroyed us. Do you know what the odds of that are?" "I'm not lucky," Anna said firmly. "I'm thorough. You're a target, James. Successful, wealthy, ambitious. That makes you attractive to con artists. They see you as an opportunity." James sat back down, suddenly exhausted. "Is everyone trying to steal from me?" "Not everyone," Anna said with a slight smile. "But enough that you need someone watching your back, which coincidentally is literally my job description now." "Best hiring decision I ever made," James said. "Second best," Anna corrected. "Your best was hiring your head of engineering. She's brilliant and actually knows what she's doing. I'm just the person who keeps you from signing contracts with criminals." James laughed despite the stress. "How's your doctorate going?"
"Slow," Anna admitted.
"Between work here and classes, I'm stretched thin. But I'm managing. My dissertation advisor is actually thrilled. I'm getting real-world case studies faster than I can write them up." "What's your dissertation about again?" "Psychological manipulation and corporate fraud," Anna said. "Specifically how con artists exploit cognitive biases in successful executives. François Mercier is literally a chapter. So is Robert Parker now." "I'm in your dissertation?" James asked, surprised. Anonymously, Anna assured him. "But yes, you're the case study for how ambition and trust can be weaponized against intelligent people." "Great," James said dryly. "I'm an academic cautionary tale." "You're a survivor," Anna corrected. Most people in your position don't catch the fraud until it's too late. You did, twice. We did, James said. I wouldn't have caught anything without you. Anna's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and stood up quickly. FBI is at Parker's office. They're taking him into custody now. James stood too. Should we? No, Anna said. This is law enforcement's job now. Ours is done. That evening, Anna sat in her small Columbia apartment, surrounded by textbooks and legal documents. Her laptop was open to a news article. Tech CEO Robert Parker arrested for securities fraud. Caldwell Technologies among potential victims. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Ms. Reeves? A man's voice, older, with a slight accent. My name is Victor Chen. I'm the CEO of Chen Global Industries. I got your name from James Caldwell. Anna sat up straighter. Chen Global was one of the largest investment firms in Asia. How can I help you, Mr. Chen? I'd like to hire you, Chen said bluntly. As a consultant. I have a deal on the table, $800 million, and after hearing what you did for Caldwell, I want you to review it before I sign. Mr. Chen, I work for Caldwell Technologies exclusively. James already gave his permission, Chen interrupted. I called him first. He said you're the best fraud detector he's ever seen, and that I'd be stupid not to hire you. His exact words. Anna smiled despite herself. When do you need this review? Yesterday, Chen said. But I'll settle for next week. I'll pay your standard consulting rate plus expenses. Fly to Singapore, review the documentation, tell me if I'm about to make a terrible mistake. Send me everything you have, Anna said. I'll take a preliminary look and let you know if a trip is necessary. After hanging up, Anna stared at her phone. This was the third call this week. Word was spreading in business circles. If you want to avoid fraud, hire Anna Reeves. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was James. Victor Chen called you, didn't he? James said when she answered. He did. You told him I was available? I told him you're the best, James corrected. Anna, you're getting a reputation. People are scared after what happened to me and Parker. They want someone who can spot frauds before they close bad deals. I have a full-time job, Anna reminded him, and a dissertation to finish, I know. But think about it. You could build something here. A consulting firm that specializes in fraud prevention for major corporate deals. You could charge premium rates, work on your own terms, make a real difference. Anna was quiet for a moment. Do you want me to leave Caldwell Technologies? No, James said quickly. God, no. I want you to expand. Keep working for me, but take on other clients too. Build your practice. I'll even help fund it. Consider it an investment in keeping the business world slightly less corrupt. Why would you do that? Anna asked. Because you saved my company, James said simply. And because I believe in what you're doing. Also, selfishly, if you're consulting for other major companies, you'll see patterns and threats that could affect us too. Your outside work makes you more valuable to me, not less. Anna walked to her window, looking out at the Columbia campus. Students were walking between buildings, laughing, living normal lives. She used to be one of them. Now she was catching international criminals and reviewing billion-dollar deals. I need to think about it, she said finally. Take your time, James said. But Anna, you're 30 years old and you've already stopped 2 massive frauds. Imagine what you could do in the next 10 years if you really committed to this. After they hung up, Anna sat back down at her desk. She pulled out a notebook and started making lists. Pros and cons, risks and opportunities. What she'd need to start a consulting firm. How much to charge. Which cases to take. Her phone buzzed with an email. The subject line read, Urgent, potential investment fraud, need your expertise. It was from a venture capital firm in California. They'd heard about her work and wanted her to review a startup's financials before they invested $50 million. Anna opened her laptop and started reading. 3 hours later, she'd found the fraud. The startup's founder had fabricated his previous company's exit numbers. The acquisition, he claimed, was actually a bankruptcy. He'd changed his name and was running the same scam with a new company. Anna drafted her report, sent it to the VC firm, and leaned back in her chair. James was right. She could build something here. Something important. She picked up her phone and texted him. Okay, let's do it. But I have conditions. His response came immediately. Of course you do. That's why this will work. Anna smiled and started drafting a business plan. By morning, she had the outline for Reeves Consulting, corporate fraud prevention and due diligence services. Her waitressing days were officially over. 6 months later, Reeves Consulting occupied a small but prestigious office in Midtown Manhattan. Anna had hired 2 junior analysts, both former FBI forensic accountants, and was reviewing her 5th major case of the month. The California VC firm had become her first official client after she'd saved them from the $50 million fraud. They'd recommended her to 3 other firms. Those firms had told their networks. Now Anna's calendar was booked solid for the next 4 months. She still worked closely with Caldwell Technologies. James had a standing contract for her services, but now she was protecting dozens of companies from the kind of fraud that had almost destroyed him. Her phone rang. It was Agent Morrison from the FBI. "Anna, I have news about Francois Mercier," Morrison said. "He took a plea deal. 20 years federal prison, no parole. He also gave up his entire network. We've arrested 12 accomplices across 6 countries. That's good news," Anna said, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. "There's more," Morrison continued. "Mercier's been talking. He said you were the first person in 15 years who caught him mid-operation. Usually by the time someone realizes it's fraud, he's already gone with the money. But you stopped him before he could finish. He actually asked about you. What did he want to know?" "How you knew," Morrison said. "I told him you speak French and overheard his phone call. He laughed and said that wasn't the impressive part. The impressive part was that you acted on it. Most people hear something suspicious and convince themselves it's nothing. You trusted your instincts." After hanging up, Anna sat back and thought about that. Trusting instincts. It seemed so simple. But it was the hardest thing in the world when those instincts contradicted what powerful people wanted to believe. Her assistant knocked on the door. "Ms. Reeves, your 2 o'clock is here. Mr. Davidson from Davidson Pharmaceuticals." Anna stood and smoothed her suit. Marcus Davidson was a billionaire several times over, and his company was about to merge with a European pharmaceutical giant. He wanted Anna to verify everything before signing. Send him in. Davidson was in his 50s, silver-haired, wearing an expensive suit and an anxious expression. "Ms. Reeves, thank you for seeing me on short notice." "Of course. Tell me about this merger." For the next hour, Davidson explained the deal. A European company called Medicor was offering to merge with Davidson Pharmaceuticals for $1.2 billion. It would make them one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world. Anna listened carefully, taking notes. When Davidson finished, she asked, "Have you met with their executives in person?" 3 times, Davidson said. Flew to their headquarters in Brussels. Met the entire leadership team and the due diligence. My lawyer spent 6 months on it. Everything checks out. Anna felt a familiar tingle of suspicion. "Mr. Davidson, can you send me all the documentation? Every contract, every financial statement, every communication with Medicor?" "Of course. But what are you looking for?" "I won't know until I see it," Anna said honestly. "But I've learned that when deals seem perfect, they usually aren't." Over the next week, Anna and her team tore through thousands of pages of Medicor documents. Financial statements, corporate registration, leadership bios, clinical trial results, patent filings. On day 5, her junior analyst, Marcus, found it. "Anna, look at this," he said, pulling up a document on his screen. "Medicor claims to have 17 patents for breakthrough medications. But when I cross-referenced with the European Patent Office, only 3 actually exist. The other 14 are fabrications." Anna felt her pulse quicken. "What about their clinical trials?" "Also suspicious," Marcus said. "They claim FDA approval on 6 drugs, but the FDA has no record of 5 of them." Anna grabbed her phone and called Davidson immediately. "Mr. Davidson, do not sign that merger agreement. Medicor is fraudulent. Their patents are fake. Their FDA approvals don't exist, and their entire company appears to be an elaborate shell corporation." There was silence on the other end. Then, "Are you certain?" "I'm certain enough to recommend you contact the FBI and SEC immediately. This isn't just a bad business deal. This is criminal fraud." Davidson's voice shook. $1.2 billion. I almost... "Oh God, but you didn't," Anna said firmly. "You hired me to check and we caught it. Now we need to report it before they target someone else. 3 weeks later, Anna stood in James's office looking out at the Manhattan skyline. Behind her, a news broadcast played on the television. Breaking news. International pharmaceutical fraud ring exposed. Fake company Medicor attempted to defraud multiple American corporations of billions of dollars. The scheme was uncovered by fraud prevention consultant Anna Reeves. James muted the television. You're famous now. That's the third news story today. I don't want to be famous, Anna said. I want to stop frauds. You're doing both, James replied. He handed her a folder. This came this morning. Requests for your services from 47 different companies. 47, Anna. You're going to need a bigger office. Anna took the folder, flipping through the requests. Fortune 500 companies, international conglomerates, venture capital firms, private equity groups. All of them wanted the woman who'd stop billions in fraud. I can't take all of these, she said. No, but you can hire more people. Build a real firm. Make this your life's work. James paused. What would your father say if he could see you now? Anna smiled, her eyes getting misty. He'd probably say I should charge more. They both laughed. Seriously, though, Anna said. None of this would have happened if you hadn't taken a chance on a waitress who interrupted your business meeting. You saved my company, James said. I think that earned you more than a thank you. You gave me a career, Anna replied. A purpose. Before that night at Le Ciel Bleu, I was serving wine and writing academic papers nobody would read. Now I'm actually making a difference. James walked over and stood beside her at the window. You know what the best part is? Every fraud you stop, every criminal you expose, you're saving more than just money. You're protecting jobs, families, dreams, just like you wished someone had protected your father. Anna nodded, unable to speak for a moment. I heard from Agent Morrison, James said. François Mercier's entire network is dismantled. Robert Parker is awaiting trial. And now Medicor's executives are in custody. That's 3 major fraud rings stopped in less than a year. All because a waitress spoke French at the right moment. I was more than just a waitress, Anna said. I know, James smiled. You were exactly the right person, in exactly the right place, at exactly the right time. And you had the courage to speak up when it mattered. Anna's phone buzzed. Another consulting request, this time from a tech startup in Seattle. She looked at James. I need to hire at least 5 more analysts. So hire them, James said. I know a good venture capital firm that might want to invest in your expansion. You? Me, James confirmed. Think of it as my way of saying thank you. And also as an investment. Because Anna, what you're building here, it's going to change how business works. You're making trust possible again in a world where everyone's afraid of being conned. 6 months ago, Anna had been a graduate student serving wine to billionaires. Now she was protecting those billionaires from the criminals who wanted to destroy them. Her father had lost everything to fraud. But she'd found her calling in preventing it, and somewhere in a federal prison, François Mercier was probably telling other inmates about the waitress who spoke French and cost him everything. Anna smiled at the thought. Justice felt good. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and comment below telling us what you thought. Your support helps us create more incredible stories like this one. What fraud story should we tell next? Let us know in the comments.